Uh, Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy and very honored to be here with you. Thanks to the organizers for inviting me here. I'm a veterinarian, I'm a parasitologist. I do not consider myself expert in ticks and tick-borne diseases, so I'm sure that today here I will learn a lot from the presenters, and also I will take the opportunity to describe the situation in Greece regarding tick-borne diseases in humans. So I was not sure about the background of our audience today. To be on the safe side, a small introduction about ticks. We all know that ticks are blood-feeding arthropods, obligate ectoparasites. We find them virtually, practically in all kinds of animals and humans, of course. And as you probably know, we distinguish two main families in ticks: the hard ticks, the Ixodidae, and the soft ticks, Argacidae. Now, there are over 700 different species of Ixodidae group. It's the largest group, and it is the group that is most important for transmission of tick-borne diseases. So they are important both medically and veterinary. You know the life cycle of ticks. Alejandro just mentioned about it. Female ticks produce eggs on the ground, and from these eggs, larvae hatch. They develop into nymphs and adult parasites. They may use one single host for all these life cycles, or two, and finally even three hosts, and they develop to the adult stage. As you know, I suppose, they can become very big, huge, when they are fully engorged. You can see at the picture down there. I don't know how I can show this, but anyway, maybe I can use my pointer here. I don't know if this is visible. It's not visible. So, like that?
No, yes.
But I have to be like that, right? Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. So, yeah, they become really big when they are fully engorged. Maybe you have seen on an animal such big ticks. So they are parasites. That means they have a direct clinical impact on their hosts. So they induce irritation to the skin, to the animals or humans, anemia, of course, because they are blood-sucking arthropods, and skin lesions like granulomas. And even toxicosis, because in some cases we have a toxin in the saliva of some ticks inducing tick paralysis, which is also quite important. But most importantly, they are vectors of severe pathogens like viruses, bacteria, and protozoa, and most of them are of zoonotic character. That means we find them both in animals and in humans, so they are a big threat for animal and human health. What is quite interesting and impressive is that in the USA, 95% of the vector-borne diseases are actually tick-borne diseases. You can see how much this can impact human health. About tick-borne diseases, the most important we encounter in humans are caused either by viruses. Most probably you have all heard about tick-borne encephalitis, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, and the newest virus, Powasian encephalitis, now endemic in some areas of the Americas. They are induced by bacteria like Lyme disease, tick-borne recurrent fever, etc., and of course by Babesia, which is not such a big problem in Europe yet, but we will see what happens. The tick-borne diseases can be mild, can remain asymptomatic in many cases, but be accompanied by a specific, let's say, symptoms like fever, malaise, myalgia, arthralgia, and symptoms like that. Some have quite characteristic signs, like the erythema migrans we see in Borrelia, which is quite characteristic. And sometimes they may also be fatal. So in cases of severe infections and of non-timely treatment, we may have a fatal outcome. Now, these are some maps focusing on Europe about the most important tick-borne diseases. We see in the first map the situation about Lyme borreliosis in Europe. You can see that not all countries have a national surveillance program going on. So the countries in gray color are the ones that do not monitor systemically this disease. But we also see that in some areas of Europe, like Estonia, Lithuania, Slovenia, Switzerland, and France, we have a lot of cases every year. On the other hand, Balkans seem to have lower numbers of cases, but we will see how this will develop in the future. In the right map, we have the areas where there is a risk of tick-borne encephalitis infection. As you can see, Western Europe and the Mediterranean countries, Greece, Italy, are in a lower risk position, while Central and Eastern Europe has a higher risk for this infection. This is a recent map about Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. As you can see, in the last decade, this map refers to 2013 until today, we had a few cases in Bulgaria and in Spain. And finally, this is the map about rickettsia. Rickettsia are quite widespread. Still, there are some countries reporting 0 case. I'm not sure if this is a matter of unreported cases, or indeed there are not so many cases in these countries. So let's concentrate now in Greece, because this is actually what I want to pass today as information. The information is derived from the literature and from the Center of Disease Control in my country. Greece would be considered a country where conditions would favor tick development, spreading, and even import. Well, the country is situated, in the southernmost area of Europe. It's actually in the junction of 3 continents, Europe, Asia, and Africa, either through land borders or via the sea. So importation of new pathogens is an issue there. It has a typical Mediterranean climate. That means mild winters, dry, hot summers, conditions that would favor development of ticks. It has a great diversity of natural environments. We can find wetlands, especially in the northern and western areas of the country, mountains, forests, everything, prairies. And it also has a diversity of land use. We have highly urbanized centers, but also wide rural areas with agriculture, animal production, and also wild environments with a quite rich wildlife. Also, Greece, it's important to say that it's a passage for migratory birds, and also a point of entrance and even activity or even installation of wildlife from neighboring countries. And importantly, it is a destination for humans, either a permanent destination or temporary. People travel to Greece for business, for tourism, of course, as you know, and also come as immigrants or refugees. So we would say that Greece may be a point of entrance of new tick species or new pathogens for the Balkans and Europe. And so in Greece we have identified over 26 species and subspecies of the Ixodidae family. You can see them in this table. They belong to 6 genera. The most prevalent ones are the ones that are underlined. And 10 of these species have been isolated not only from animals but also from humans. 14 of these species are actually known carriers of pathogens. Now let's see what is going on with tick-borne diseases in Greece. And first of all, let's start with the viral infections and the tick-borne encephalitis. You probably all know that it's a very important and severe infection, both in Europe and in Asia. And there is a vaccine that is being applied for over 20 years in endemic areas. It is caused by a flavivirus, which is transmitted, of course, by ticks, but not only by ticks. There are cases due to consumption of unpasteurized dairy products. We have 3 subtypes of the virus: the European, the Far Eastern, and the Siberian subtype of the virus. And rodents, carnivores, and insectivore animals are considered the main reservoirs in the nature. The main vector is Ixodes ricinus, but also Ixodes persculatus, but This species is present only in some northern areas of Europe. Now, I'm sorry about how the slides look. They were not like that in my in my computer, so it's a little bit distorted. But anyway, you will see the letters, I suppose, and I hope the clinical picture of tick-borne encephalitis very usually is asymptomatic. It remains an asymptomatic infection. But when we have a clinical presentation, in the first phase we have a specific symptoms like a fever, headache, fatigue, and symptoms like that. But in the second phase, a few days after infection, the neurological signs appear that are associated with meningitis and encephalitis. In Greece now, we have isolated a slightly different strain of the virus. It has been called a Greek goat encephalitis virus because it was first isolated from a goat. And this virus is present, has been detected both in animals and in Ixodes ricinus. There are 3 sero-epidemiological studies in humans about this virus, and the overall prevalence has been observed to be 1.7% in the whole country. However, there are some areas with higher percentage, reaching up to 13.8%. And what is interesting is that this highest prevalence was detected in an area where Ixodes ricinus is not present, at least has not been found till now. So this is a question mark there if there is any other tick species that may transmit the virus. We have also 6 clinical cases reported because tick-borne encephalitis is a reportable disease in Greece. And it seems that, I'm sorry, you cannot see my last phrase, it seems that the virus is circulating in the country, but it's not a big problem for human health. It's not epidemiologically an important disease, until now at least. So let's pass to the Caribbean Congo hemorrhagic fever. This is an emerging and very severe infection disease. It is caused by a norovirus, transmitted mainly by ticks, but also when humans come into contact with tissues and blood from infected and viremic patients or animals or even ticks. The vector is Hyaloma marginatum, but in Greece, the virus has been isolated from different tick species. Actually, it has been isolated from Rhipicephalus bursa, Rhipicephalus sanguineus, Dermacenton marginatus, and Haemaphysalis parva. These are the carriers identified so far in Greece. And there are numerous animals, wild and domestic, that carry the virus so they can be the reservoirs in nature. The clinical picture, again, is particular, is quite severe. In many cases, the fatality is high. It reaches up to 40%. It begins as a specific, again, disease with fever, myalgia, headaches, but then usually the more severe clinical signs appear with hemorrhages in the skin, but also internal hemorrhages, and general organ failure. In many cases, the outcome is the death. So in Greece, we do have a high seroprevalence in humans, reaching up to 27.5%. But it seems that the virus that is circulating has a low pathogenicity, so we don't have cases in the country. The strains that have been identified are called AP92 and a very similar one, AP92-like, which are in the ticks in Greece. And they are quite different genetically from the ones circulating in Eastern Europe and Asia. So this low pathogenicity could be due to this genetic variation, maybe could be due to different hosts, different ticks transmitting the virus, or some other factor that it is not known yet. We did have one autochthonous fatal case in Greece in 2008, but that was in a woman living very closely to the Greek-Bulgarian borders. She was working on agricultural activities, and the strain identified from this case was actually not the Greek strain AP92, SARS-CoV-2, the strain circulating in Greece, I mean, it was identical with one in Eastern Europe. So it was a different strain. And we also had one imported case from Bulgaria. Let's go now to the bacterial infections and see what's going on with the Mediterranean spotted fever. This is one of the oldest known tick-borne diseases around Mediterranean. The causative agent is Rickettsia gonori. It is transmitted by Rhipicephalus sanguineus, a very, very common and prevalent tick in Greece. The clinical picture is characteristic by the generalized maculopapular rash, and of course it's accompanied with fever, cervical lymphadenopathy, again arthralgia, myalgia, headache, and sometimes neurological signs as well. We do have this rickettsia in Greece. It is present in Rhipicephalus sanguineus, and the seroepidemiological studies in humans show a quite high prevalence, reaching up to 45% in some areas. According to some epidemiological surveys and investigation of risk factors, it has been shown that the contact with ticks and with that parasitize on sheep and goats are the main risk factor for human infection. So it could be considered a professional, let's say, disease for farmers and maybe for veterinarians. There are several clinical cases reported, reaching back to 100 years ago in Greece, and one fatal case has been reported in 2008. This was, again, a woman very close to the previous case of fatal Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, so again in the borders close to Bulgaria. And very close chronicle. It was only 45 days after the Crimean Congo case. So because of this, let's say, accumulation of cases, research was triggered about ticks in Greece at that time point. And the researchers concluded that maybe the climatological conditions that preceded these cases, that was increased temperatures and the low humidity the previous months, had influenced the populations of Rhipicephalus sanguineus, augmenting the numbers of ticks and maybe also influencing their affiliation to humans. So yeah, it could be something that referred to this particular year, but we know that climate change has this kind of direction. So we're expecting different epidemiological trends because of climate change. Now, there are also other rickettsia identified in isolated cases in Greece. We have a case of, due to Rickettsia slovaka, we have lymphangitis-associated rickettsiosis and other rickettsia, and a few more species isolated in ticks, not in human cases. These are the ticks that are usually involved in these infections. We both have them in Greece, Hyaloma anatolicum excavatum and Rhipicephalus turanicus, that have been found positive for this rickettsia in Greece. If we pass now to the Anaplasma phagocytophilum and the tick that the disease it causes, human granulocytic anaplasmosis, it is present both in ticks and humans in Greece. Ixodes ricinus is the main vector. It is a tick that we don't have a lot in Greece, but it is present. The microorganism also affects animals. It is a zoonotic disease. And the clinical picture presents with fever, headaches, arthralgia, myalgia, lymphadenopathy, and sometimes gastrointestinal implications. In Greece, the seroepidemiological approach shows that it can reach prevalence up to 21.4% in some areas, and severe clinical cases have been reported. Actually, a fatal case was reported in Athens in a man that did not have any agricultural occupancies, but he was most probably exposed to an infected tick in his garden while gardening. and he was presented with fever, sore throat, and irritability and insomnia, and this was unfortunately a fatal outcome. Now, regarding Lyme borreliosis, we know it's a major public health concern. It's prevalent in many areas of Europe, and the causative agent is the bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi with Ixodes ericinus as a vector. The clinical picture is characteristic when we have these erythema migrans, which can appear in different forms, but it is quite rare in Greece. Actually, we do not have clinical cases reported. We do have some seroprevalence data performed in healthy adults. It showed, performed by ELISA, it showed a 3.3% prevalence, but with Western blot it was, of course, lower, more specific, 0.27%. We have some cases from Borrelia species reported seropositive, so clinical cases seropositive with Western blot patients, but not isolation of the infectious agent of the Borrelia. So currently it is considered not a big problem in Greece. So despite the characteristics of the country that would favor tick development and proliferation, it seems that many tick-borne diseases are not so prevalent in Greece. We can see in the maps, we can see that Greece is not among the areas of high risk for various tick-borne diseases. So this could be due either to some alterations and differentiations of the strains of pathogens that circulate in Greece. Remember the Greek goat encephalitis virus, which of course it is an encephalitis virus, but it's slightly different genetically than the rest of Europe. And the strains of Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever that are again quite different genetically, but it could also be due to a lack of organized surveillance program in the country. So only a few tick-borne diseases were reportable diseases until last year, and only in 2022 borreliosis, rickettsiosis, anaplasmosis, and ehrlichiosis became reportable diseases. So we're expecting to see maybe more cases in the future. In the future, yes, we do expect challenges, both because of the climate change and also because of human differentiated behaviors, travels, and things like that. So in some cases also economical issues in countries that block surveillance programs or prevention programs. All these factors are expected to lead to the increase and spreading of emerging and re-emerging tick-borne diseases. So I think the target would be to educate, first of all, health professionals to promptly recognize and diagnose tick-borne diseases, to have tools for accurate and fast diagnosing these diseases, to make surveillance projects and programs and networks that will provide information about the distribution of these diseases, and actually to create strong networks, I think like the one we have here today, with experts of different backgrounds, medical doctors, veterinarians, biologists, epidemiologists, and other specialties, so to work together on this protocol called DAMA, which is to document the disease, assess the importance of the pathogens, monitor the epidemiological tendencies and trends, and take actions whenever it is needed, all in the concept of One Health, because this is what we are talking about nowadays. Thank you very much for your attention.